By Langley Bush I roam, but the bush hath left its hill. On Cooper Green I stray, 'tis a desert strange and chill. And spreading leaf-close oak, ere decay had penned its will, to the axe of the spoiler and self-interest fell a prey. And Crossbury Way, and old Round Oak's narrow lane, with its hollow trees like pulpits, I shall never see again. Enclosure like a Bonaparte, let not a thing remain. It levelled every bush and tree, and levelled every hill, and hung the moles for traitors. Though the brook is running still, it runs a naked brook, cold and chill. So when I read that, I was thinking, this is amazing. I've just got to put these words into a picture to describe what's happening now. I didn't expect that I was ever going to sell a picture like this, so it's very gratifying when I have. I've did lots of other things to make a living before I gave it all up and decided to be an artist. And of course, as soon as you decide to do that, you look at a blank sheet of paper and you haven't got a clue what to do, really. And so things progress quite slowly. I'm always a landscape artist, and so what happened is I got interested in the poet John Clare because he writes about the landscape and everything that's happening in it. So when I came across his work, it meant that I then had a sort of separate side seam of work that was to do with him that I've maintained for nearly 30 years now, frighteningly. The thing, when I first started reading John Clare, and I read a couple of poems earlier on, but I hadn't really hit on anything that meant anything to me. But it was during the 80s when intensification of farming was altering completely the landscape that I lived in, which is the landscape that I grew up in. So I knew exactly what was getting lost. We lost an enormous amount of hedges, trees, ponds, all in an incredibly short space of time. During John Clare's life 200 years ago, it was a period of parliamentary enclosures, and his parish was enclosed, which meant that there were similarly enormous changes to the methods of farming. I recognised exactly how he felt. It was a cathartic experience for me to make work that used his words, but images of what was happening to our landscape now. Mostly I'm a screen printer or serigraphy, which serigraphy was what it used to be called. I like to go through a process. It means that you spend a lot of time planning something out. You spend a lot of time planning how to make it simply. And I think sometimes painting is so open-ended, you can keep changing things and keep changing things. And within printmaking, things are fairly tight and they either work or they don't. So I like that kind of edge to it. I did this one about 20 years ago, and what it represented for me then was that the left-hand side was sort of the landscape that I'd grown up in the 50s, with small fields and mixed farming, which then changed to being totally arable farming. And the words in it are words from a poem from John Clare where he's remembering fields where he remembers the names of the places, but the places have changed so much. And it was realising that the hollow trees that I'd known as a child had been tidied away, and that the next generation of children wouldn't have the trees to play in, made me really want to make this picture. As you're drawing and you notice something else and you notice something else, you can't help but be filled with wonder. I would think that the people who are most happy are people like astronomers who kind of know about going light years into space, that they know how small and insignificant their own life is, and somehow looking at smaller things works the same way as well. What wonder strikes the curious while he views the black ants' city by a rotten tree or woodland bank? In ignorance we muse, pausing, amazed, we know not what we see. So you can see why Clare is a poet for our time. Because he is so clear-sighted and so descriptive, and he notices everything, that we just want people to open their eyes and look and see what's around them.